Imagine walking across the entire planet. Not for a week, not for a year, but for nearly 3 decades. No planes, no cars, just your feet. This is the story of Carl Bushby, the man who walked for 27 years, across 36,000 miles, through jungles, deserts, war zones, and frozen wastelands. This is not just a journey. It's the ultimate test of human endurance. Carl Bushby set off from Chile in 1998. Since then, he has walked across American and Asian continents, swam 186 miles, 300 kilometers, across the Caspian Sea and fought off ice lumps and polar bears through the Bering Strait, all without using any form of transport. The former paratrooper has less than 2,000 miles, 3,219 kilometers, left to walk before he arrives at his home city of Hull. Mr. Bushby, who is currently in Mexico waiting for a visa to complete his challenge, has said returning home will be a very strange place to be after being away for some 27 years. Following his 31-day swim across the Caspian Sea last year, Mr. Bushby said he continued his journey to Azerbaijan and then through to Turkey. The traveler, originally from Sutton Park, said he had to step aside from his mission, named the Goliath Expedition, while he waited for a visa. He hopes to continue his trek via Turkey in August before entering Europe. Mr. Bushby expects it will take another year before he is on home soil and is aiming to arrive in Hull by September 2026. Bushby set off from Punta Arenas, Chile, on November 1, 1998, and had completed over 17,000 miles, 27,000 kilometers. As of 2006, walking through South, Central, and North America, with over 19,000 miles, 31,000 kilometers, to walk and maintaining his current speed. He then estimated he would return home to Hull by 2026. In March 2006, Bushby and French adventurer Dimitri Kiefer crossed the Bering Strait on foot, having to take a roundabout 14-day route across a frozen 150-mile, 240 kilometers, section to cross the 58-mile, 93 kilometers, wide strait from Alaska to Siberia. They were detained by Russian border troop officers while they were crossing the Russian border near the Chukotkin village of Yulin for not entering Russia at a correct port of entry. They were threatened with being banned from Russia, which would stop the journey. It was announced on May 5, 2006 that the Russian appeal court had upheld Bushby's application and his walk would continue. This was reported to be the result of consultation between John Prescott, the then British Deputy Prime Minister and MP for Bushby's hometown of Hull, and Roman Abramovich, the then governor of Chukotka. On March 16, 2007, it was announced that Bushby had obtained the required permission from the Russian authorities and had begun to prepare for the second half of his Goliath expedition. Bushby would walk the first leg of this stage to Yakutsk, along with Kiefer. He had a struggle with the Russian authorities to get a visa and permit. The entire area is a military area, and a special visit permit is needed. During 2007, he managed to walk more than 620 miles, 1,000 kilometers, from Yulin to Dvoinoy, not far from Bilibino, returning to Alaska when his visa ran out in November. In 2008, Bushby only walked for 3 weeks, reaching Bilibino. He started very late, since the visa approval was delayed, and when the snow disappeared in May, he could not continue because the area is filled with swamps and rivers, impossible to penetrate on foot when not frozen. He was only allowed to be in Russia for 90 days out of every 180 days per visa, and had to leave the country before each visa expired. From late 2008 to 2010, Bushby spent his time in Mexico for cost reasons and was unable to travel to Russia. This was both because of trouble getting a visa and permits, and because of financial trouble. Bushby lost several of his sponsors due to the 2008 financial crisis. After Bushby secured new sponsors in 2010, the Russian government issued him another visa, and he resumed walking across Russia in the spring of 2011. In addition to the 90-day time restraint imposed by Russian visas, Bushby was hampered by the tundra conditions. Because his route took him through an area that can only be traveled on foot via frozen rivers and ice roads, he could only walk during the late winter and early spring. On April 25, 2011, after walking approximately 680 miles, 1,100 kilometers, Bushby reached the town of Srednikolimsk, completing his leg for 2011. Beginning his 2012 leg, he only needed to travel an additional 560 miles, 900 kilometers, before reaching improved roads, meaning his travel would only be limited by the Russian visa rules. On April 12, 2012, Bushby reported on his site that the Russian authorities had denied him a visa for 2012. In March 2013, Russia banned Bushby from re-entering Russia for 5 years, citing a border violation from the previous year. Bushby walked over 3,000 miles, 4,800 kilometers, in the U.S. from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. His destination was the Russian embassy. On October 23, 2014, Bushby's visa ban was overturned, and he was granted a letter of invitation from the Russian government. As he moved north through Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, and Central America, Karl encountered everything from tropical diseases to political unrest. He slept in tents, abandoned buildings, and sometimes went days without seeing another soul. Crossing into the United States, Karl's journey became more visible. He gained media attention, met supporters, and even walked through major cities like Los Angeles and New York. But the journey was far from easy. He faced visa issues, border restrictions, and the mental strain of being alone for months at a time. One of the most daring parts of Karl's journey was his crossing of the Bering Strait, the icy gap between Alaska and Russia. Few have ever attempted it. Even fewer have survived. Karl and his companion Dmitry Kiefer walked across frozen sea ice, dodging cracks, polar bears, and Russian patrols. It was a feat so dangerous, it nearly ended the expedition. Once in Russia, Karl faced his greatest challenge: bureaucracy. Despite walking thousands of miles, he was detained, deported, and denied visas multiple times. He spent years trying to re-enter the country legally, often stuck in limbo, but he never gave up. Walking alone for years isn't just physically demanding, it's mentally brutal. Karl battled loneliness, depression, and the fear of failure. Yet he kept going, because for Karl, this wasn't just a walk. It was a mission, a promise to himself. Karl Bushby's journey is still ongoing. Though slowed by red tape and age, he continues to walk whenever possible. His story has inspired thousands. He's proof that the human spirit can endure anything, that with grit, determination, and a pair of boots, you can conquer the world. Bushby crossed into Uzbekistan early in June 2019, reaching the border between Turkmenistan and Iran a few months later, where the voyage was on pause due to visa issues and the COVID-19 pandemic. In August 2024, Bushby started the swim across the Caspian Sea from Kazakhstan, planning to finish in Azerbaijan to avoid going through Iran or Russia, as both countries were then too dangerous to enter with a British passport. Bushby was accompanied by co-swimmer Angela Maxwell and 2 Azerbaijani national swimmers, Anastasia Babarina and Abdurrahman Rustamov. Each day, Bushby and company swam in 2 3-hour sessions. One in the morning, one in the afternoon, and resting and sleeping on support boats each night. The swim, covering 179 miles, 288 kilometers, was achieved in 31 days with 132 swimming hours. From Azerbaijan, Bushby then went to Turkey to cross the Bosphorus Strait into Europe. On June 11, 2025, Bushby was in Armenia waiting for a visa to enter Turkey to complete his challenge. At that time, he hoped to continue his trek in August 2025 and estimated he would return home to Hull by 2026. As of September 1, 2025, Bushby finished crossing Turkey and entered Bulgaria. As of October 2025, he has entered Romania and is now 1,375 miles, 2,213 kilometers, from the United Kingdom. If Karl's story moved you, share this video. Subscribe for more tales of survival, adventure, and the extraordinary. And remember, the greatest journeys begin with a single step.